Greetings folks, it's John G. Sutton, Tales from the Jails. This is the second one today, and the reason is I've just seen a report from the Evening Standard in London about Dominic Raab issuing direct instructions as his role as the Minister of Justice, instructing that officers working in the prisons and the probation service may not report to the parole board on their personal opinions about inmates' fitness for release. That the only opinion from the Ministry of Justice may come from the actual minister himself. That will be Dominic Raab. So the prison officers and the probation service that are called before the parole board have been specifically instructed that they may not answer questions such as how do you feel the inmate will be able to cope on release from being in prison? How will they be able to rehabilitate on being released? How are they going to act? The instructions from Dominic Raab have been that the staff may not offer an opinion on this. Now, you may wonder who on earth knows better about how a prisoner is behaving than the staff that have been observing them inside the prison. The prison officers that are locking them up, the probation officers that are seeing them on a regular basis, will have formed a professional opinion as to how the inmates are behaving and how they may react on being released. But the instructions are direct written instructions from the Ministry of Justice were that no prison or probation staff were to offer expert reports or evidence to the parole boards. That has now been challenged in the High Courts by two inmates who objected to having their parole decisions refused, and the High Court has decided that this was ultra vires. It was beyond the power of the Ministry of Justice, beyond the power of the Secretary of State, Dominic Raab, who may not instruct staff to effectively what was described in the High Court as performing perjury or misleading the parole board or effectively being in contempt of court, and that his instructions induced the staff to commit a form of contempt. What on earth, you may ask, is Dominic Raab playing at? I mean, how has he arrived at the opinion that he, in his elevated status as a Secretary of State, how can he possibly offer an opinion on the inmates individually? How can he? He can't, in actual fact, because he doesn't know them. He will never have met them, never have observed them, and basically what he's doing is saying, well, if I decide that they're fit for release, they're fit for release. If I decide that they're not going to be released, then they're not going to be released, on the say-so of the Secretary of State, who has no personal or possibly any professional opinion to offer to the parole boards, nor would he individually speak to the parole boards. It would just be a written recommendation from the Ministry of Justice, which in actual fact seems to me to obliterate the requirements for a parole board. Why not just let's not just ask Dominic Raab what he's playing at? In my opinion, this is just another way of the Ministry of Justice downgrading the status of prison officers and probation officers to the point where they're little more than turnkeys and flunkies of the system. Why is he doing that, you may ask? Well, you see, people in these positions, and don't forget I have met them, people in these positions tend to, and I know what opinion they have because I know how they've been interacting with me. and interacting with other members of staff. They seem to bring an opinion to this that they know better, that we're just underlings, simple gophers on the minimum wage. And that's the problem, you see. They've allowed the system to disintegrate to the point where prison officers really are. I mean, 40-50% of prison officers have got less than 7 years service in. I don't want to keep harking back to the 70s when I joined, but when I joined in the 70s, there was staff in there who had been working in the prison since the 1950s. There were staff, in actual fact, who'd been there since the end of World War II. Staff who'd been in the prisons sitting in on executions. Nowadays you've got 50% of the staff who haven't even got 7 years in. A good 30% of the staff don't even have 2 years service. So there's no expertise being passed down. Now, I know what the problem is here, is that the prison service, or the Ministry of Justice directing the prison service, believe that long-serving prison officers have actually formed a kind of hardline opinion and an indoctrinated practice that needs to be terminated. Well, I would agree to a certain extent, yes, because the old bully boy, thump 'em, kick 'em down the landings, that's never was going to work. That is always going to create problems, and that had to stop. But the expertise in how to deal with difficult prisoners, you can't learn that from a textbook. You learn that from getting your hands on. And the problem that you've got now is 42% of the prison officers are females. They're not likely to get their hands on the likes of Paul Sykes, yeah? Are they? Or Mad Frankie Fraser? They're not going to get a grip of people like that. For people who are extremely violent, you need the likes of Bootsy Brown and company. You need people who are prepared to actually get in there and get a grip. But when it comes to parole boards, it seems that the Ministry of Justice has decided that they know best. Prison officers know nothing. Probation staff, they know nothing. They're not allowed, by direct instructions from Dominic Raab, the Secretary of State, and not allowed to offer the parole board their opinion on the prisoners that they've been looking after and observing, unless he's wrong. And he has been proved wrong, because the court has decided that he's wrong. That would be the Courts of Justice in the Strand. And so it was reported in Wednesday the 5th, what was it? Let me check this, yeah. Well, Wednesday the 15th of March in the London Evening Standard. You have a look at that. It's online, yeah, on Yahoo News. You have a look at that. Dangerous prisoners may have been set free, botched, and prisoners who should be accepted for parole have not been allowed parole because of the interference, the direct interference of Dominic Raab, who doesn't know whether he wants to go to the bathroom or the barber's. Right, there we are. So kiss this, you Secretary of State. I'm going to sing you a song now. You deserve it. If you've listened to 2 of these today. This is a song I wrote some time ago. It was recorded in America by a lady called Lois J. Barine and a guitarist, Jack Wills. This is Last Train Home. And you can decide what you think this is actually about, you know. But as I wrote it, I can tell you what I believe it's about. This is, in my opinion, this is about the transition of a spirit from this world to the next. And as you go from here into eternity, it's a cultural journey I've been had a number of near-death experiences, one of which I was supposed to get onto an aeroplane, but I didn't. Hence I'm here and not at another destination. So I'm now going to sing you Last Train Home. Words and music by John G. Sutton. That would be me, by the way. The shades of night are falling fast. I hear a whistle blown in the distance, rolling on the last train home. I listen to a lonesome owl, it's calling in the night. I'm thinking about what might have been. I try to do it right. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket for the last train home. The wind is blowing colder now, and yes, here comes the rain. Will the girl I loved be waiting when I step off this old train? She told me that she loved me, seems like only yesterday. With her perfumed air, I suddenly walked away. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket for the last train home. The station lights are dimly lit, cast shadows in the rain. Sitting in this carriage, looking back on my pain. I dread my destination, then the driver rings his bell. I'm heading down a railroad track on a one-way road to hell. You know, looking back is not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket for the last train home. Too late now for sad regrets, the chances I have missed. I'm dreaming of my lover and the day that we first kissed. The train draws in the station, I hear the whistle moan, and there she is, she's waiting from the last train home. She's waiting there to welcome me from the very last train home. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket from the last train home. There, Last Train Home by John G. Sutton. I can put a recording to that. It's on YouTube. I think I've got it on YouTube. I'll put a link down below. Yeah, have a look down below. I'll put a link. Okay, hope you've bought my book, by the way. This is John G. Sutton, Tales from the Jails, and Dominic Raab. He wants his lumps felt, doesn't he? That's it. We're going now. Auf Wiedersehen.